Welcome to the channel. My name is Brad, SuperCoach Pro. Today we're doing the final round review for round 24 of SuperCoach. You're probably wondering why this is a bit late. I've been sick for the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you can see my red nose and whatnot, but I'm still recovering, and I just thought I'd have to get this one out of the way, do a team review of how we went and a summary of my season. Um, all in all, it won't go for too long because you guys have probably watched quite a few guys. I'm probably one of the last ones to upload. So we scored really well a fortnight ago now. I'll go into my footies finals tips as well. But we scored 2,659, which was top 5% score for the round. Season rank to finish was 6,479, 473, sorry. So we went up a little bit, which doesn't really matter. Top 5K was the range that I was aiming for with such a poor start. And yeah, that is the side finishing for the season. Not as good as the 1,200 place last year. There's things I have learned. So backline all season was pretty good. I suppose going over those players, pretty standard for the four on the screen for Sinclair, Stewart, Dawson, and Sheasel. Sheasel I got in late. Stewart I started and brought back in after that injury. Sinclair was a bit of a hit and miss. Dawson was pretty good, but I didn't really use him very often for VC and Cs. Will Day was pretty mediocre. He scored a fair few tons in the back end of his season, but it still wasn't what I was after for his price. And Dacos, I should have waited one more week to pull the trigger on him to Sis, but I went a week early and grabbed a 24th primo in Tom Mitchell for that, which paid off this week, but not in overall schemes of things. So how we fared, we VC'd Bont in that round, and we nailed that. So Bont's been my saviour this year for VC and Cs. Laird has been okay since injury and whatnot, 138. I captained him for two really bad scores, a 50 and a 90 something. So it's been pretty disappointing for Laird in terms of captaincy. It actually scared me off. I've barely used him all season since those couple incidences. Merritt's been pretty consistent. Used him for the Dreamtime captain option there against Richmond. Green's been pretty good hold. So I have enjoyed that ride. Now he's 600k. So do we start him next year? I'm not too sure, but I'll be looking at players sort of under 30 and more getting into the peak of their career rather than the other way around. And Brayshaw is also a great pickup, 136. And Strong finally pulled his finger out and scored a nice big score. Neil has been pretty good. Don't think I've done this season, next season. I don't, probably not pretty good. He's been okay without being fantastic. And then Constable and all these rookies have been pretty average, to be honest. Mitchell, probably a failed pick because of the sub rule. Keys, hit and miss with this one. It was okay after the buys. And then Roberts obviously got injured, so that was just unlucky there. Excuse me. 2 seconds. I've got Muay Thai tonight, so that's why my shorts are weird. Marshall 154, he's been pretty good, and Briggs 99. It's whatever. So I probably lost 20 points a week with that move selling English for Briggs, but I got to keep it at 250k. I've been happy with the side relatively most of the season. I think what just stuffed me up was probably VC and C options, and my starting squad is probably something I need to work on next year. And it's probably things that it's just the 1%ers that I probably should have been listening to a little bit closer instead of, thinking that I'm always right. Sometimes in the off season, I don't listen to enough opinions, and I just sort of go with my gut. And sometimes you need supporters of a certain group to actually know what a role of a certain player is going to be. Hence, Sheasel didn't start him. I didn't know who was going to line up in the back line. People were saying half an hour before the game he was named around the defenders, and I didn't pick up on it until 2 weeks too late. So I wasted a trade in that and started off with an average starting side that finished me 100,000 for the round. So my goal overall was just to try to knock top 5K off. And it was pretty hard to do, and I never got there in the end. So biggest fail, I'd say, is probably Jeremy Cameron this season. He was averaging 98 or 99. It was the sixth top forward when I brought him in. Got to concuss, got injured, just did all sorts of nothings. And I don't think I really even used him all this season, maybe one game. It was actually a decent score out of him. Gordon, Rosie, Cornelio, good picks. Probably should have went Butters over Canelio, as I think Zach's been giving me a hard time for it this season, which is fair enough. Dunkley's been pretty average after returning from that injury. Sorrento's had a poor end of the season, I suppose, so he might be cheap enough to start next year, especially if Dusty does go. And Cameron's been a bit of a hit and miss too. I sort of feel him on the wrong weeks when I shouldn't be. So I feel like that's why my side has gone wrong. It just sounds like a bit of a 50-50 when I listen to myself speak about my side. Um, yeah, so what I'm going to do off season is probably study a bit harder about some of these draft picks coming through, some of the kids. And I'll probably look at some rookies from Richmond to actually start next year as a bit of a pod rookies, like Gibkiss, who didn't play all season, maybe Tom Lynch. Just these little players like Tadrius. I don't know how you say his name, but he played one game against Port Adelaide and he scored pretty well in the 90s. It was a mid-season draft pick. So there's a few things that I might use to my own advantage, knowing my Richmond squad and things like that. But yeah, it's not a lot to say towards the end of the season now. But I do have some tips. I do my tips every week and talk about the finals. I'll watch all the games, of course, until the grand final as well. So tonight I'm tipping Melbourne by 2 goals to win. My heart says Sydney, but I think Carlton have got this sewn up. I think they actually thump them by at least 6 or 7 goals. I know it's not really thumping, but I think they really trouse them. Sydney don't really deserve to be there. St Kilda and Giants, I think Giants actually smashed the Saints as well at the G. I think if this was at Marvel, the Saints would win, but I just feel like the Giants are coming strong. And then Port Adelaide v Brisbane. I think Brisbane are too good at home for this one. So that's how I think it's going to go, is Melbourne, Carlton, Giants, and the Lions are winners. And to my side rankings, it's been a while since I've had a look at this sort of stuff. Total points is the big one. So 5, 7, 3, 8, 4, 5, 8. So I'm like 4,000 points off at number one. It's just ridiculous, insane. It's really hard to sort of, you got to average 2, 3 plus to even get there. And I had some really shocking weeks, to be honest with you guys, as you guys have seen. But yeah, sometimes you have these seasons where you just, fall rank a bit and then you bounce back the year after. So sort of like anything really. If you go into my history, have a look at some trades. I did some bad trades, some good trades, and I've got to head off to Muay Thai. So trade history, what did we do? What didn't we do? So Stuart Flanders in for Ridley Sheasel. That was a wasted pick for Ridley because Stuart came back like a week later or something. So that was unlucky. Then Darcy, Bruin, and Blytell out for Zeeble, McKenna, and Cameron. It was probably a decent trade at the time. And then Ridley, Cameron, Callahan in for English, Amadi, Dacos. There's just too many 2 out of 3 sort of wins for these ones. So it's just a little bit tricky. In assessing my overall wins and losses for this, I'm just going to take this call. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry. I missed it. I better just tell him I'm in the middle of a podcast. It's my Muay Thai partner. In a middle of a party. Sorry, yeah, me 10 past. Sorry. Anyway, and then going through it, we got Cogs in, Johnson and Roberts. Roberts obviously to that injury. Bruce was a bad trading. I tried to go a bit of a pod. Thought he'd do well because of the role in the back line. Amadi was a stupid idea. He had a really low break even and then does a hammy. Just some really stupid things. Day was a miss. Shikota Mitchell were wins at the time. McKenna out was a good call. Wilmot was a good call, and Cowan were all good calls at round 7 to go out because they didn't make much money afterwards. Setterfield out. He got injured, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not sure why I did this. I think his break even was pretty high actually. Jones out, Green out. In for Teakle, Oliver, and Simpson. That was bad. Oliver was, missing for half the year. Simpson was a decent trade, and Teakle was a waste. Hollins and Gimby out was a good enough call because they're break even. So what I'm looking at really in my trades is I got rid of my rookies at the right time, but I also brought in players that I probably shouldn't have as well. Like Hobbs, probably not a good pick, but I had no money to do anything with Mills and Hopper. Mills got injured, and Merritt was a great call. So I feel like a lot of my trades were 50-50s. Stocker and Simpson out for Sinclair and McAndrew, and then he didn't get named after that. So that was 1-for-1 again. Ashcroft, Radically, Teakle had to do it. Ashcroft got injured not long after that. Poor fella, ACL. Brought in Dawson, Fuller, and Briggs. This is probably one of my better trades too, Dawson and Briggs. And then out Zeeble. This was a turning point as well. I outed Zeeble because I just felt like he was going to get rested towards the end of the year. There's a few things on my mind about Zeebs. Hobbs was okay without being fantastic. Baker had a break even that I just had to get rid of. And I had to bring in 2 primos. So I went Brayshaw and Neal, and I went early on Marek, which was a good call. And then this was my stupid round. English out, Weddle out, Mitchell out. English I should have never done. Malkin in, dump, does a hammy. Cameron in, Cameron in. So round 14 is a turning point of going bad. So this was really good. Round 13, round 14, just stupid. And then 15, Ford for Keys. I thought it was okay. And then Oliver in for Sarong, which was probably 6 or 7 weeks too late, but hindsight. So Johnson and Mitchell, it was whatever too. This is a week too early. I used Tom Mitchell's score a couple times, but should have really waited until I had 3 weeks left to go. And that's what I'll do next year is I'll keep one trade for 3 weeks and then risk it then, not a whole month of footy. So one a few things, and then season rank is another thing too. So this is the big picture here. 100,000 starting position is just ridiculous. Scored 1,800 the first week. And then I never really got really anything decent overall positioning. What do we get? 5,000 here in round 15. We caught up. And then just sort of progressively went down because we had no trades to make any pod moves. I probably went for too many players that people owned. I didn't go for enough pods in the back end of the season, and that's where I really sort of staggered here. It's just I made a good comeback. Like I was pushing out to 8,000. I was a little bit disrespectful for how well I thought I had traded, and then came back with a few good VC and C options in Bonds and Tapelli. So 100,000 at start. What do you do? I mean, you look at the season before that. You start off 24,000 and score 228. So a 300 or 400 point difference. And overall, you just stay in that top 10K for the season, 1,300, 1,600, 1,700, and all the way into 1,262. So it's all about your starts, even round rank. 424, 12th rank, just crazy scores the year before. So I'm looking to do that again, upward trend, and not do what I did this year. And the other thing I noticed in this 2022 season, I didn't waste trades at the start. I had so many trades saved in the first 4 rounds. I only used 2 trades over 4 weeks as opposed to 8. That's a huge difference. So, yeah, that is the end of the video. I tried my best. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my content with myself and also features with Steve from SDS SuperCoach all season. I'll thank him again for joining me on the potties. We'll do some more live streams next year, and I'll probably do some off-season content. Sorry for the delay too. I've been just sick, and I've had my bubs over quite a bit. I'm a new father since April, so it's been a full-on hectic life trying to balance single dad life and all the rest of it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Give a thumbs up if you like, and subscribe if you haven't already. So thanks for following all season, or for however many seasons you've been following. I really appreciate the support, and I'll catch you when I catch you. Hopefully your team makes it through to the granny.